Good evening and welcome to the regularly scheduled February 17th, 2026 Nacogdoches City Council meeting. Chad, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Yes, sir. Join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you this day grateful, Lord, for all the many blessings you bestow upon us each day, Lord. I thank you for this city, for all of its residents, our council, Lord. I thank you for our city staff. I ask that you be in our midst tonight as we make decisions that would be honoring and glorifying to you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We'll stand for the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
We don't have anything in open forum. Next item is open forum. We have none tonight. Items to be removed from the consent agenda, if any.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll go to the regular agenda. Item 6A, consider the following appointments for the city boards and commission: Airport Advisory Board, Building Standards Commission, Industrial Development Authority, Nacogdoches Cemetery Board, and Main Street Advisory Board. Let's see. I was unable to be at the interviews, but we had four more than capable council members there, and I totally agree with everything that they picked. So the Airport Advisory Board reappointed was Ricky Jones, Taylor Jones, Will Alders, and Kathy Gaynor. Building Standards Commission, new members, Brandon Rowell, reappointed Michael Payne and John Mosley Jr. Industrial Development Authority, reappointed Richard Humphreys. Nacogdoches Cemetery Board, new member Melanie Thompson, and reappointed Burgart Patton, LaShonda Holcomb Maxey, Betty Jacobs, and Wyatt Ordway. Main Street Advisory Board, new members Timothy Monzingo, Hannah Willis, and Henry, how'd you say? DeCoyer for the vacant seat. So, we need a motion for that.
Motion to approve this.
I make the motion that we approve these appointments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. For the following items marked as 6B, C, D, and E on tonight's meeting agenda, I'd like to have council move to table them until our regularly scheduled meeting on March the 17th. Due to a lack of quorum on February the 9th, the required first public hearing of these items were not conducted by the Planning and Zoning Commission prior to City Council consideration as required by city ordinance. By tabling these items until March the 17th, 2026, city staff will have time to re-notify adjacent property owners and the public regarding the rescheduled public hearings, as well as schedule and notify with regard to these items for the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to be held on or about March the 9th, 2026. Council, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we table these items till March 17th, items B, C, D, and E.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, 6F, consider and authorize the purchase of a Spartan S-180 Type 1 fire engine from Metro Fire Apparatus Specialist in the amount of $950,000. Chief Brown.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mike Brown, your fire chief. Tonight is a simple request to authorize the purchase of one Type 1 fire apparatus. It's to replace an aging 1997 model that's been in reserve for a number of years. This apparatus was included in the 25-26 adopted budget. So what is a Type 1 apparatus? That's your classic fire truck. That's your big pumper that you see rolling down the street. That's a full-size municipal truck, high-capacity fire pump, large tank of water, hoses, ladders, etc. It's our primary response vehicle for structure fires, vehicle fires, rescue, and other all-hazards incidents. Why replacement is necessary? Again, this is a 1997 model. The National Fire Protection Association recommends replacement at 25 years for any apparatus. We've gotten more than a lifetime of service out of this. We are experiencing tremendous problems with parts availability almost 30 years down the road. This affects our response capability because that truck's going to be down and down and down. So we're asking to replace this. In terms of evaluation and recommendation, so what we did was we had a comprehensive committee-led review. That committee consisted of both command staff, line personnel, our fleet maintenance technician, experienced people of all ranks from firefighter to battalion chief. I have a representative from that committee here tonight, Captain Dusty Aragon. If we need to ask him any questions later, he'll be happy to help us out there. They did a hands-on evaluation of multiple apparatuses. We have historically bought primarily a single brand. Had good service out of that, but we wanted to look at this from an open mind. And so they tested hands-on, drove, visited with numerous fire departments that are operating various apparatus to make their decisions. They looked at safety, performance, ergonomics, how easy to use is this apparatus, life cycle costs, and they landed on the Spartan apparatus because it met all their needs. The cost was really almost a push depending upon the brands involved. But what we really liked from a cost perspective is that there's not a proprietary part on that apparatus, meaning it breaks, we can go to Kelly's Truck Parts, to O'Reilly's Auto Parts. That's faster and that's cheaper to get that thing repaired. We're hoping that in time, that really pays us some dividends. Let's see. So the recommended solution is, I kind of already talked about that. So procurement and impact, utilizing, this would be purchase utilizing a cooperative purchasing agreement, by board type purchase. Through conversations with finance and the city manager, this will be a lease to purchase. Using that by board pricing ensures that our pricing is competitive. It also kind of smooths the process there, making sure that we meet all of our state purchasing laws. A very timely, no pun intended, feature of this engine is through some sheer dumb luck and some persuasive actions on the part of our committee, we were able to shoehorn ourselves into an apparatus coming down the production line. And so the 2, 3, 4 year timelines for new apparatus, we can get this thing in 6 weeks. That's incredible. And a lot of it was dumb luck, good timing, and really through beating the heck out of the salesman. So kudos to the committee for their efforts there.
Mike, did y'all also have, did somebody purchase too many and or back out of an order?
Somebody backed out.
Okay, because I've been there, done that on long lead time vehicles, big ones before. So if you can get lucky, that's what I was going to say. If you either get lucky or you get back in line. And that's the nicest thing I can say about it.
Had this unit not become available, we would be looking at a minimum of 12 months, probably closer to 2 years before we were able to actually obtain the apparatus. So let's see, that's actually a picture of it. So that's the actual engine that we are proposing for purchase. Obviously, we would have the livery done in Nacogdoches colors, so it matches our fleet. We're slightly transitioning our fleet to a slightly different color scheme. Some of that's cost savings. We've always run a two-tone paint job. You may notice most of our cabs are white. That actually costs a little bit of money, so we're moving to a red, solid red paint job. So you'll see apparatus, hopefully in the coming years, they're slightly changing, but we're going to stick to that traditional red. That sums up my presentation. Happy to answer any questions, or if you have any questions for Captain Aragon.
Oh, one quick question on the funding. Did you want to run through that? We talked about it, but
Gotcha. This is capital replacement funding, again, included in the 25-26 budget. I have to put in a plug for us in the fire department. Some of these funds, not all of them, but some of these funds do come from the reimbursements that we receive for our TIFMAS deployments. If y'all may remember several years ago now, a couple years ago, we bought a wildland apparatus almost entirely with those funds. A chunk of this is going to be offset, so to speak, from those funds. Unfortunately, not the entirety of it, but some of the money that goes in that capital replacement.
yeah. So for everybody at home or anybody has questions, when the teams deploy to assist on wildfire fighting other parts of the state or other parts of the country, those funds come back through. So those are covered with then some, with also obviously the capability to also assist with others over time. So, and then Mike has a leading role with that entity statewide. Did you want to just touch on that kind of from the leadership perspective, that our crews are critical really for the statewide response as well, just because of their capabilities, kind of like we are obviously on PD side. Because of our location, they have to train and train up and train well for the type of events that they respond to, including helping others outside our footprint.
Absolutely. That program, the TIFMAS program, is an invaluable program. As a state resource, it's invaluable as a local resource. The training and knowledge through actual events that our guys receive when they deploy, you can't buy it. You can't replace it. Completely funded by state dollars. Doesn't cost the city of Nacogdoches a dime. Tremendous impact locally. During Winter Storm Uri, when we had so many issues, we were actually the recipient of TIFMAS resources. Frequently, you have the idea that we're going to participate in this program. We never need it. We never need it. We needed it. Boom. Within hours, we had apparatus here to help augment our fire response. So it's a integral part of our department.
What happens to the truck is it being traded in, the 97?
That will be sold at auction, I believe. Yes, sir.
It could always end up with a volunteer department coming in the Christmas parade down the road, I'm sure.
How much do you finance in Mike?
This is a Todd question.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know exactly how it's set up.
We know we're financing it, and it's in the budget, so
Yep.
that's good enough.
And what model is this?
This is a 2026 Spartan S180. Yes, sir.
Any other questions or discussion? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we agree to purchase this fire truck.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item, 6G, discuss and consider authorizing the city manager to negotiate an agreement with H2O Partners Incorporated to provide professional services as described in the solicitation RFP 2026-10-110 for the development of a hazard mitigation plan. Mr. Self.
Mayor Johnson, members of council, my name is Michael Self. I serve as the Assistant Fire Chief and the Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Nacogdoches. We are needing to update our hazard mitigation plan through TDM and also through FEMA. In the summer of 2025, I applied for a grant through the Texas General Land Office and received a grant for $100,000 to produce a plan for the city. We pay for the services and then they reimburse us as those things are done. What we are doing, this is a plan that will be a partnership with Nacogdoches County. Nacogdoches County is also needing a plan to be produced, and the natural hazards that affect Nacogdoches County affect our city just the same. And so they did a lot of work bringing the radio system up to date for the entire county. And so we took the lead role in getting this grant and overseeing this for the county and city. It will also include the 4 other municipalities, other cities in Nacogdoches County. This will be produced. It is required by FEMA that it will have community input in this. There will be a steering committee that will actually guide and work with this company to say these are the main hazards that they want to see looked at. And then there will be public hearings throughout the county for folks and inside the city for folks to give their input and such into this plan. In December, we went out for proposals. We had 3 proposals that were received. We evaluated these based upon the qualifications and experience of the firms themselves, the experience of the project teams that would be working with us, the cost value that we would receive, and also the references from other cities. Out of those, we had 4 city divisions that scored, and the same company came up number 1 on everybody's scoring. We also consulted with Tara Triana, the county's emergency management coordinator, and she scored independently and scored just the same. H2O Partners out of Austin is who we chose. We actually, after we did our scoring, talked to the local TDM officials with mitigation, and this is the company that actually produced the state of Texas's hazard mitigation plan for FEMA. They are very experienced, do a great job. They're also a hub vendor, and also they were the lowest cost in the 3 bids that we got. We didn't choose them because of that. Their experience and just their entire plan and such of what they had, they stood above everyone else. Basically, how this would happen is once the plan is put together and council says, hey, we like this plan, it will then be submitted to TDM. The Texas Division of Emergency Management will then look over the plan, make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. Once they approve it, it is then sent to FEMA. FEMA has to approve the plan or else it is no good. And then once FEMA has approved that plan, it then comes back and council adopts that plan. Part of that plan is they look at mitigation efforts and give multiple options of if you do absolutely nothing and other things. And in no way in adopting this plan in the future, which it should take roughly a year to 18 months for the entire plan to be approved by FEMA. FEMA's kind of the holdup in the entire process, the bottleneck. But there is nothing that would dictate that council has to do what the plan says. It is more of a plan that is a suggestion with mitigation efforts that can be adopted if council was to choose to do those things after the plan is in place. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I just have one. How old is the old plan? The last time we did a plan was like 10 or something?
The last plan we had expired in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
2018. And the reason I was asking is I went to the training and it seemed like there was something that we couldn't get without having a new plan.
Yes.
Help me out here.
For explanation's sake, when we start talking about plans, there's the basic emergency operation plan that's updated every 5 years that we are required by law as a municipality to have. The mayor signs that, and all of the 20 annexes with that in our plan was updated and is good with the state. The last update was back in October. This plan is not required by law. However, the part of this is when there is mitigation grants that are available for cities, we're not eligible currently for some of those grants because we do not have an up-to-date plan. And how some of those grants work, if a hurricane strikes far south Texas and FEMA comes in and says we are going to approve mitigation grants for the state of Texas, even though we didn't get a drop of rain from the hurricane that affected South Texas, because Texas is eligible for those grants, if we have this plan in place, we are then eligible for some of those mitigation fundings. And that's stormwater drainage things, buying new generators for things like that are some of the simple things that kind of come with those mitigation grants. And once we have this in place, we will be available be eligible for those grants.
Well, I just, we all appreciate so much getting things up to date so that we can get outside funding and for everything. So really appreciate that.
And if we had something that was 10 years old, that was still probably our newest plan.
Yeah, right,
I mean, we're trying to catch up on every front.
right.
And I will say this, he's not gonna be happy about it, but I know Chief Brown will agree, but Chief Self, he's as good as a person, but as good as a emergency manager I've ever worked with anywhere, and that includes, you know, all those hurricanes down south and the craziness to the west of us. So, as you probably have seen, how seamless everything seems to go when we have events, and a lot of that is his dedication and organization. So, thank you to, I think, from everybody, that you make it easy to take for granted for the community, but thank you.
Thank you. I can't stand here and take all the credit. We have a great team from every division within the city, community services, public works and engineering, police, fire. The team that we have is a great team. That they make me and Chief Brown look really good, but there's a lot of great team members in emergency management within our city.
So the hazards we face, does this include all these new energy storage systems and that kind of, is that a hazard? That
No,
would be
sir.
covered?
The explanation that I got from TDM, this is mainly natural hazards.
Okay.
And the funding for grants that come about are only for natural hazards. We would have the opportunity to put in man-made hazards if we so chose, but there's never any funding for that. So TDM really wants us to steer towards what are the natural hazards that we face here in this community.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Brad, some of the, let's just say, emerging technologies that could also be dual threats, we can talk about that probably in a different context. Many of these things are evolving so fast that the state is just now starting to look at them. I would even say they're behind the eight ball, obviously, on the data centers, battery plants, solar. They're just now getting to the issue of transferring between watersheds, and then, moreover, really what the water impacts or the electric grid impacts may be from some of these different type of facilities, because it kind of depends on which one you get and which order. But do they affect not only our access to the grid ultimately, even though they say we're supplementing, you know, because the second you get a battery plant or a solar facility, next thing you know, you're getting the data center, which is why they're going where they're going, near the substations. And so I think the federal level and state level, that is something that we need to keep on the forefront, that we need to have the local tools to review, even with our partners, those capacity impacts and how they could affect us, because it's also one of the reasons you're seeing the energy prices going up. And that's another piece that everyone's missing. You know, that one to the south that you're going to see, that's, again, I don't think the usage and what it's the hit on the grid is offset by the battery plants and the solar, and thus the customers are taking it and obviously we don't have an electric utility, for that clarification for folks at home.
Should we start leaning in toward this to kind of force the state if we can?
Well, just some of the things I'm working on some of my other stuff and other training. These discussions are going to be probably ongoing at multiple levels, including the next legislative session. And I do think our delegation needs to drive it home, and there does need to be alignment on federal policy and kind of national interests, and also foreign interests also trying to come in, and then being competitive yet not vulnerable, because some of these, you know, it's chicken and egg. Do you compete in these areas like AI? Are some of those AI items and the data centers that come with them actually going to create larger losses of jobs faster? Those are other questions that people aren't. And however, if you don't do some of it, or you're going to fall behind your international competitors, some of which are also trying to fund things in your footprint so they can access with various technologies, communications devices, maybe your grid. So all of these things are new. And again, just look at water and how long it's taken the state to start looking at those impacts. This is moving much faster. It's moving faster than, let's say, the iPhone apps and that technology and how much that changed life as we know it. I do believe if we don't get ahead of these things, I don't think we necessarily embrace them until we know what they are. And if we don't know what they are, we don't embrace them. And we've just had several people make a run, obviously, at recent meetings. I thank y'all, and I think y'all will thank yourselves for passing what you've passed to date, and I think we're going to have to look at more. But again, I don't think until you know what it is, if you can't be assured it's not a Trojan horse, you treat it as a Trojan horse until proven otherwise.
So if we get grants and we're, like you said, we're not affected by it, the rain came someplace else, but it affected Texas, and we get that grant, what do we do with it?
The majority of these grants are for specific things. I mean, they are very much for, if I can find the right words, it may be for stormwater retention. It may be for generators. Those are the two simple ones that happen quite a bit. They are very specific when FEMA says we're releasing money to Texas for this to be used for this purpose. And then, I mean, we would be applying against the San Antonios, the Houstons, everyone else, and we would show the need that we have here, along with how we would use that money, how we can use that money. And so we would not have free reign to do whatever we wanted to with it. It would be very specific purposes for which we would go after.
I wanted to add, I think, I don't know if it was Harvey or it was one of our last, or it may have been the snowpocalypse or whatever. And there was one targeting rural issues, and I was hoping we could apply, and we did not have this in effect. So there was something very, very specific, and I was very discouraged we couldn't apply. It was before you got here, Mr. Pefferlund, so, you know.
I got here as fast as I could in my old age.
Okay, thanks. Anyway, there are specific targeted grants, and then some of them might be rural nature when we really are very well poised to get those dollars.
I mean, I've seen grants through TDM that it's kind of a little different section, but say radios, that they say we want to help bolster a radio system in rural Texas, but it is only for handheld radios. So therefore, you know, going in, this, I mean, they tell you this is what you have to buy with it.
Well, thanks. Appreciate
Any other
it.
questions or discussion?
You want a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm making the motion that we authorize the city manager to negotiate the agreement with, is that where we are?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. With H2O Partners, as outlined in item 6G.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item 6H, discuss and consider approving signatories for grant number 22-130-096-FM495 from the Texas General Land Office.
Mayor Johnson, this ties right in with what we just talked about. Y'all approving us to move forward with H2O to be our writer of our grant. This actually applies to the contract that we have with the Texas GLO. One of the things that I had to submit to them was a listing of folks who can sign all the official paperwork, and also when we begin reimbursing, when we pay H2O and when we request reimbursement from the GLO for what we paid out. And what I did in listing that was the mayor, the city manager, the finance director and the assistant director of finance. And before you, you have the resolution that just says that those 4 individuals have full authority to sign on behalf of our city with the GLO for this grant, so.
Any discussion on that?
I just want to say you are very knowledgeable,
He is.
and
He
I
does-
appreciate
He
it.
does a great job in Tatum. I mean, he brings stuff over to me and he helps me with my computer. We get it all signed. All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank
very
y'all.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, we need a,
You need a motion? on
yes,
that.
please.
I move that we approve the signatories as outlined in item 6H.
Second.
Have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, last item, item 6I, consider approval of an ordinance of the City of Nacogdoches, Texas, amending Chapter 74, Parks and Recreations, Article 4, Special Events by adding Division 2, Sound Equipment Permit of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Nacogdoches, Texas, providing a severability clause, providing a continuation clause, providing a repeal clause, and providing an effective date. Mr. Baker.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Jerry Baker, City Attorney. What you have before you is a proposed ordinance related to an addition to our special event permitting process that we added probably about a year or so ago, as you may recall. And actually, it was in March. So March 4th, 2025, the City Council approved that amendment to Chapter 74, which added this Article 4, which refined the permitting process for special events here in the city. And in, as you may recall, November 18th of this past year, the council approved amendments to both Chapter 34 and Chapter 118, which consolidated and amended the city's noise ordinance. You may or may not recall, though, that both ordinances references a sound equipment permit, which we did not have at the time. That was purposeful because the intention was to bring what we have before you right now. So the proposed ordinance before you creates a permitting process for the use and operation of sound equipment. I will point out, however, that the permit that is required here is only for the use of sound equipment during a special event. This does not apply to any other time that someone may intend to use sound equipment in the city. So the ordinance lays out the application process. The application for the permit will include information about the applicant, naturally, the description of the sound equipment, the location where the sound equipment will be used. And recall, we're talking about a special event, so and we'll get more into that in just a bit. But there's a caveat there, and I'll get to that in just a minute as well. I just wanted to point out that little asterisk. The date and time when the sound equipment will be used, a statement that the applicant will agree and comply with the ordinance, and any other information that the city may need to approve the permit. The ordinance has a permit fee of $25 to offset the cost of reviewing and the applications, but it does allow for the waiver by the city manager if he so chooses. And that may be necessary depending on the type of special event that may be involved, okay? And we talked about that, as you may recall, when we were talking about the special event permits. That could also be waived by the city manager depending on the special event that's involved and who may be applying. It also creates an appeal process for any denial or suspension or revocation of the permit. So, as I mentioned that asterisk before, so within the ordinance, there is the opportunity for someone who may or may not be associated with the organizer of the special event who wants to exercise their First Amendment rights and use sound equipment to do so. And this permit will allow them to do that, to obtain a permit to use that as sound equipment. However, in those special event areas that the city designates, depending on the special event we're talking about, we have designated certain areas for those permittees who want to do that to exercise their First Amendment right in that area. So I commend Jessica and her team working with our GIS department to come up with these maps I just got a couple of these, but what they've done is created these maps for each type of special event that we talk about, whether it's a running event, whether it's a big event such as Blueberry, or something even smaller where we're just shutting down one street. And each of these maps, you'll see this little box that's designated, that's, as you can see maybe in the legend there, I don't know if y'all can read that, but it says the designated first, I think that's First Amendment speech area. I can't even read it myself here. But in any case.
Free speech area.
Is that what it says? Free speech area, okay. But you can see the little box on the map there. Here's the map that would be for something like the Blueberry Festival that takes into not only all of downtown, but also Festival Park. So as I mentioned, so ordinarily, if somebody was going to implement sound equipment as part of their special event, as part of their application for that special event, they're going to come in and designate. They're going to obtain the permit for the sound equipment and designate where that sound equipment is going to be used. But as I mentioned, somebody may want to exercise their First Amendment right at that special event, and they're not associated with that organizer. They then have that opportunity to do so, but they just have to do it in these certain areas, if that makes sense. So that's all I have as far as the presentation. I can answer any questions, or Jessica is here as well to answer any questions that you may have of her.
So when they had the Charlie Kirk Memorial, not that long ago, September 10th or 11th or whenever,
Okay.
on the courthouse square, would that have required a sound permit and a free speech area?
Was that a special event permitted by the city?
I don't know.
No, probably not then.
So that was just a spontaneous
this would
event?
only apply to a special event that's permitted by the city under Chapter 74. Then
So
through-
does that have to get a permit? Did it need a permit?
we don't have a permitting process other than what we're presenting today, and that's only for city-sponsored special events.
Okay.
Just to clarify, the people who are running the special event, this includes the permit fee for them, or
Right, so
Yes,
there's
right.
a permit fee, as you may recall, for the actual
For the
special
event.
event. As I mentioned, there's a permit fee for this permit as well. However, that can be waived by the city manager.
Correct.
So it could be such that depending on the type of event we're talking about, that the city manager may want to view that and say, we don't need to charge that
Right.
fee in addition to
I get.
the special event fee.
So the free speech area, though, is not something that they're permitted for. That's just the designated area. for
No, they
free
are,
speech.
they are
They're
getting a
required
permit.
to get the permit. Okay.
Correct.
Thank
So
you.
they'll need a
That's another-
permit in order to exercise that right but that free speech area though is just
Is
the
where
area
you're
that they
going
can
to-
use that sound equipment.
Okay.
What we're saying is if you want to exercise your First Amendment right with sound equipment,
That's right.
whether it's a bullhorn or whatever it may be, you have to stay in this area that we're designating.
Okay.
If
That's
you
what-
want to exercise your First Amendment right and go around street preaching, in the special event, but you're doing it with just your voice,
Right.
you can go anywhere you want to. We're just saying if you're going to use sound equipment, you have to do it in this area.
I just want to make sure. Totally. Got it. It's great.
Okay.
And I may be a little dense about this, but there's lots of people standing on the corners for different protests. Is that a permitted, is that a city event, or
No,
what is that? Where
No.
do they get that permit?
generally that's First Amendment activity that's not required a permit. So
Okay. I just didn't
if
know.
you may recall when we did the special event permit discussion, back in March, that's one of the actual defenses or affirmative defenses or exceptions to the permitting process. If you're engaged in First Amendment activity, you're on the sidewalk and whether it's political or religious or whatever, that's not a permit. There's no requirement that you get a permit to exercise that activity.
This was mainly for those situations where somebody, got very large noise equipment and was trying to disrupt the whole
Well,
event.
let's just say this. This is a scenario if, okay, you've got Wine Fest, city event, and you don't want to have people chasing you with a bullhorn.
Right. And that
Right.
did happen.
I mean, I'm
It
just
has
going to say
happened.
it.
Yeah,
So there's a reason this is being brought.
right. So, thank you for doing it all.
So the people standing on the corner is no different than the Charlie Kirk events,
Right.
is basically what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, again, this would only apply for special events that are permitted by the city. Any other event or rally or whatever it may be that doesn't constitute a special event under the city permitting process, we're not talking about any permitting, any sound equipment permitting for them.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion that we approve the changes with the ordinance in item 6I as presented.
Second. Have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. That concludes the regular agenda. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, we will adjourn to executive session. Thank you very much. We'll be back shortly. Okay, we are returning from executive session at 7:30. And pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, no action taken. Thank you very much. This concludes the meeting. God bless the great city of Nacogdoches, Texas.